Me and Daz Dillinger are doing called The Legacy. That'll be out March 22nd of next month. So we're actually in the studio now, working on some stuff. So just getting off the road, traveling, getting to work, do what I got to do.
Perfect. E, I want to start your questions. I've been, if I had to be honest with you, I've been a journalist for 13 years. I've been doing sports, political, and, just recently I've been kind of researching American rap, rappers, etc., right? And doing all my
Yes.
kind of research, etc. Now, your father,
Uh-huh.
just talking about your father first of all, your father, because I always think it's nice to kind of talk about someone that is related to you, but your father is one of the most historical rappers of all time.
Yeah.
NWA, such an iconic figure in the rap industry. What was your opinion about your father's legacy, but also his talent?
My father's talent, I mean, for an individual who came from the streets and originally wanted to be a businessman, it's
Mm.
really talented when you sit here and you listen, despite how the stories of it took to get, Boys in the Hood, or We Want Easy Does It, and so forth and so on that Easy Does It album. You feel what I mean? You look at it and you'll say to yourself, like, wow. And you got to give a lot of credit to Dr. Dre for even producing him in that aspect because he sounded like an original artist, you know what I mean? So his artistry aspect is, what I mean, I for an individual that didn't really wasn't intend to do it, as in myself also, and be a real, lyricist. You were a great entertainer. He did pretty well. His legacy is far beyond of anything that you could question. He has a big mark in his 50 years of hip hop because he gave people the freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? And he introduced Dr. Dre to you guys. So if you took every little family tree that Dr. Dre's went on and planted seeds in, it wouldn't be without my father. So you look at it and say, hey, well, wow, you pretty much started the whole, West Coast of, gangster rap, which turned into all genres of rap because individuals had that freedom of speech that they learned from my father when he came with Fuck the Police.
What's also kind of upsetting to me, though, is, your father's life was very short because he was so
Very.
talented. And then we had people like, Suge Knight, for instance, who decided to bully his way through the whole industry. I did a research on Suge Knight. Suge, well, I think the whole world knows who he is, but, a very, in my opinion, a bully in I don't know if that's true or not to say, but someone that wasn't particularly very nice to people in the industry. Um,
Well, I mean, they choose to allow that to, some individuals know to go poke at a certain part of a tree or poke at a certain part of an individual that they know that they can take advantage of and do certain things. You feel what I'm saying? Um, so you look at it in a bully in that sense with individuals, he can get it over with it. You know what I mean?
well, he only probably bullied on the people the basis he knew he can get away from. He can
Yeah.
get away with it. Sorry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my other question to you now is tell me about your kind of career. What are you releasing? Because I know you're on TV at the moment. You've been
Yeah.
yeah.
Our sixth episode airs in the Hip Hop on We TV. Also, you can catch it on Monday nights on All Black. But basically, me as an artist, I'm basically just giving it to you as far as my life story. That's all I can give it to you. The thing that I learned from my father is basically just give it to you real. You know what I mean? So it's like some people used to sit here and say, it's like, oh, he started gangster rap. That's why it gets, stigmatized that. No, he just started realistic rap to you. He was telling you what it was and how it was going on in the streets. You just took it because of the aspect and the concept of where we come from is titled gangbangers. You feel what I'm saying? So hey, they're rapping, but they're rapping about gangster life. We're rapping to you about the life that's going on and gave you that visual of that. So that's what I learned from him. That's what I only could give to you as far as in my life growing up in the streets, being Eazy's son, being his son, losing my father in the streets, and kind of following the footsteps of getting in the street life. You feel what I'm saying? Being in trouble, drug dealing, and this and the other, and how I transitioned from a man. So what I call the title of my solo album, which soon is still come, is Yellow Brick Road to Compton. So it's my vision of just like exactly what it stands for is that aspect of Compton, and you know um I only give it to you just real. So, what I mean? The Legacy album is basically giving get homage to the 50 years of hip hop and legacy that my father left with my homeboy Daz from Death Row and Dog Pound and myself from the family tree of Ruthless Records and my father's son, and branding that together to show you the legacy that he left and how we could come together in this world union from the West Coast and give you guys some good classic old school music. You feel what I'm saying? And that's just what I tend to do. I just tend to be real and give you me real. So if I depict it in a story to where it sounds violent and you want to title it as gangster rap, then it is what it is. But it's just my, what you say, my bio to my life.
You sound like
and music.
but you come across like a very humble person, someone who
very
appreciates people, but also appreciates people's time, but also understands that, yes, you come from, yes, your father was a legend, but at the same time, it feels like you're still trying to you still understand that the hard work doesn't just come on the basis of someone else. You're making your own legacy, your own name, etc.
Yeah, you got to do that. And with the just hardship of this business and growing up and losing my father so early at a young age, like we said earlier, you just kind of learn of the hardship of life. You know what I'm saying? So you just take every day as a blessing, and the humbleness will come upon you. I don't wish that on nobody. Every child should grow up with both parents, if so. You know what I mean? And that's just the roll of the dice that I was given. But you know what I'm saying? The blessing of God is gonna keep me humble, man, and continuously see my lane of doing what I'm supposed to do and represent a legacy the right way. You know what I mean? That's why I travel. I feel like I did a lot of travel, a lot of touring, and this is really the first album I'm ever going to put out in years of being an artist. So, you know what I mean? I'm thankful for continuously being the way I am. You feel what I'm saying? And that's just what it is.
What's your opinion about British rappers?
Um, I actually love the fact, if you know what I'm saying, that you have the culture expanding, overseas and out the country, and everybody taking it to their own lane of giving the homage to hip hop. I love it. When I went to London years ago, I mean, it was humbling to sit here and see that a lot of individuals that just watched the movie Straight Outta Compton Googled and wanted to learn some father and say, hey, you're the next thing we have to it. We're getting into music because, we have respect for Eazy, and you can't do nothing but love it, respect it, you know what I mean? And give them advice to stick to their craft, you feel what I'm saying? Don't let nobody tell you, I don't care what part of the world, outside of the world, in your own world, of what you can't do, you feel what I'm saying? If it's your drive and your vision and you're good at your craft, hey, go for it.
Do you feel as well as a lot of people say that British rappers follow American rappers because the way
And
they, and it's true. People say, "Oh no, that's not true." It is true. British in London follows America. America doesn't follow London, and I think people need to respect that. The fact is, because when I was in Los Angeles, everything in America is a hustle. It's a hustle. If you haven't got a hustler's mentality, you ain't gonna get nothing.
Not gonna make it. Exactly.
It's not
Exactly.
gonna make it. So, do you feel like your upbringing has made you into that hustler's mentality to keep moving forward?
All the way, all the way. Before this music industry, I learned that again from my father. My grandfather teaching me that. My father, before, when he was a kid, he was, what I mean, doing the paper route, running around doing this. He's always finding something to sit here and go make some money to provide. So that hustle mentality has kind of been in my genes before music, and in my father's genes before he did music. So it kind of just stuck with us. I mean, he's the ultimate hustler. So, that's only right. No.
I'm going to ask you something quite sensitive. And I hope that you can understand where I'm coming from, because you have no idea how much your father was an inspiration for someone like me and other people from a diverse background to be able to move forward. Because I've got lots of friends who are Black, Indian, Muslims, etc. And your father paved a huge paveway, even though people's psychology don't understand. But I really want to know the truth from you, because I see all these conspiracy videos, this and that, etc. Can you tell me the real truth? What really happened, in your opinion, to your father?
Um, in my opinion, we don't feel as a family that it was the disease that overtook him. The resources that we even had back then, as opposed to that we have now, he was wealthy enough to have them. You know what I mean? If it was just at the HIV stage, so to say. So he had the resources like Magic Johnson did and the money to where it didn't have to go to, even if it was to full blown AIDS, you know what I mean? And then for it to be so sudden, and then now look at this world that we think of, even individuals again back then are still living to this day. Because I became an AIDS activist and understand, because as a kid you were traumatized to see her say, hey, this disease killed my father like that, you know what I mean? So learning and studying it on top of the already thoughts that we had as a family, we just understood that it wasn't that, you know what I mean? For individuals, I got a biopic documentary that I'm working on, and where I fully expose each and everything from the full family perspective of what we know and what we feel. But to sit here and put that on it, it's not the disease that they say.
When you saw the when I saw Suge Knight sitting on Jimmy Kimmel, was it Jimmy Kimmel, with his
Uh-huh.
feet on the table and a cigar in his hand, and I actually saw that live, believe it or not, and I actually felt that was one of the most sickening things that you can say on national television and say that's the Eazy-E thing. To me, that's a mockery, and I think that's disgusting. What was your opinion, and how did you feel when you heard Suge Knight say that?
Just pretty much the same as anybody would expect. Disrespect, you know what I'm saying? The mockery say that, you know what I mean? Then again, like you say, you kind of picked up on it as far as being a humble man, and you kind of live your life and on the way of that, because it wasn't always that way. I was a little knucklehead at a point in time, and I had a lot of pain and emotions. So if that would have caught that at that point in time when I was a man, at that point in time, I felt like a lot of bad things that I wanted to do. You grow up, you think you take sense of it. You feel what I'm saying? You kind of get wise and living your life. And hey, everybody else's card is gonna be dealt how their card should be dealt. You feel what I'm saying? Again, I don't wish it nobody, but hey, it is what it is. You feel what I mean? So,
Basically, in other words, what you're saying, if you knock on the devil's door too long, that the devil's door will open.
but open for you.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And even to be fairness to say, you feel what I mean? It was a quote, you know what I mean, through a close friend who still communicates in a business ship with Suge, to sit here and have a quote from him to understand that what he's going through, he expected that's what his life is it was a turn to, because all the things that he did. So you have repentance of what you do and the wrongdoing, you know what I mean? And that when that time, that real change comes and you realize what you hurt, who you hurt, and have a real soul apology for it, and things will be right for him. And I hope to it. Because again, I don't wish no man to ever be in jail. You don't want to see no man sit here and push in jail. But then again, if a lot of people, you can't steer their ways of where they're going, and they decided to go on that path's gonna lead them to where they was destined to be, on that doorstep of what we are speaking on.
But do you feel like maybe Suge Knight? I know you're saying, because you sound, it's really positive, and it's really nice that you've said that you don't wish bad on anyone, and that's such a maturity thing to say. But in the perspective of knowing that, you're this man, this bully, has gone on national television and boasted about this is the Eazy-E thing. Do you feel like time is served? He deserved this. He's deserved to be punished for all the stuff that he's done bad to other people.
Um, I don't want to say that anybody deserves anything. Well, let's just put it this way: is the things that you do, you gonna have to answer to it to somebody at some
100%.
point, 110%. So, not to say you deserve it, but whatever you were giving out, believe me, you just expect to be getting it back for everything that you. I'm saying, if I give off realness and love, then hey, that's what I expect back. You feel me? If you give up that, that's what you expect back. You feel me? So in some sort of sense, people could take it as that. But me myself, I don't feel nobody deserve anything. I feel like you get what you put out.
I also spoke to recently. I spoke to George Foreman,
Uh-huh.
the boxer, and I spoke to Larry Holmes and Evander Holyfield recently. We spoke on Zoom. We spoke about diversity. What's your opinion about diversity today when it comes to people from, like, I'm a man of color. I'm proud. I'm very proud to be doing a job that not many Asian people are doing. And you get to meet very interesting people like you across the world, and, kind of have a conversation, etc. Just a normal chit chat that turns into a great interview. Do you,
Real talk.
what's your opinion about the diverse, people of color in our industry, you know, the entertainment industry? Do you feel like it's improving from how it was back in the day?
Yeah, I believe so. It just touched a lot of different cultures, so that's only natural and only right to do, and it's a good thing. That's what you kind of want to do. You know what I mean? I want what I speak off and everything, or to know that, for example, let's just say this, to know that my father from Compton, California, a little small city, was able to touch the many people in the world that he was. We didn't
Millions,
expect that, and that's
millions of people. Mm.
pride that you want to do. That's leaving a legacy the proper way. You know what I mean? Be able to reach out beyond your own, to reach out outside of those streets and walls of Compton and all the way to London. You know what I mean?
Now, what's your opinion? I'm going to ask you another thing now, because you are, you know, you come across very smart. You're not stupid. You're very intelligent. You understand. Your opinion about Kanye West. I really want to know. He comes out mad on social media. Not mad, but he tweets a lot. He says a lot of things. People think he's, you know, he's very highly intelligent. Yes, he's intelligent, but I want to know from your perspective. I'm sure you've got friends who know him, because I don't know him. I've never met him, and I can't judge it. I can't judge a book cover. What's your opinion? Do you think what he says is right? You know, when you see this stuff on social media.
Let's just say he doesn't say it at the right places in the right time. You know what I mean? Some of those conversations should be kept amongst in the privateness of yourself or your own personal opinion. And that's the conversation I want to give to people. Yes, most social media can take some things and put it all kind of ways. So social media where you should have took the conversation? No, because I think he's highly intelligent, highly smart. You know what I mean? I have nothing against the man whatsoever. I just feel like some things that, you know what I mean, shouldn't be said to a public nature. You feel what I'm saying? And that's just that. He knows this industry. He knows what the industry's ins and outs about. Just look at a lot of things that he speaks on. For example, let's just share one. He says his mother was, you know, say sacrificed, or he says what happened when you're doing such. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, a lot of
And he
people
also
don't know.
says bizarre things like, you know, slavery was a choice.
And then he says some things in an off nature, and some people just don't dissect it. And it's not to sit here and say I'm going to get into the fact of so much dissecting it. But again, like I say, some of people's personal opinions just, shouldn't just be said. Do I say that you're not an intelligent individual? No, I do not. Do you say that you're saying some things that are highly right and right? Yeah, possibly. Yeah, very much. Very much. Yeah, a lot of stuff you're hitting on point, and then a lot of stuff you may not be. But those things that are very, very touching things, I feel like, social media is not the place to sit here really, pin that off. You feel what I mean? And if you feel that it was is a choice, you feel what I'm saying? Hey, well, speak that into a more, what you'll say, since you already put it out there, why don't you sit here to clear things up of individuals that are probably really scarred by it? To sit here clean as far as what your real, climate to what you said means. You feel what I'm saying? I can take it a different, sit there, say it. I can say as far as the individuals that want to keep themselves in slavery now is a choice. Can I say that was back then? I don't know about back then. You feel what I'm saying? I can't sit there and say that was, I know for sure it was not a choice of what they want to do. We know what we, but are you speaking in such of, this is what I want to ask Kanye with your statement. Are you speaking in such of today's time? Are you speaking in such a time back then? Because yes, we have a lot of slaves now. How you talk, to be in it and to be, all into some other, thought process, following each other. This is me doing the interview, to follow other people's, ways of doing it when you have more your own control and your power. So yeah, you're speaking to the entertainers and everything, and that's a-okay, but that's a touchy feeling to individuals that have elderlies that went through real slavery. You feel what I mean? Not this slavery that you're saying in a systematic way. You feel what I'm saying? Systematic.
Yeah, but of course, it was more forced. Yeah.
Yeah, this day, but back then, no, I can't speak on that, and I'm gonna say that was not a choice, though. So I can't say that man's not intelligent for as what he is, but for what the things that he comes out and say, I cannot take away from his intelligence. I can say that was just a wrong choice of and a wrong topic.
You was at the Grammys, is that right? Recently, you was at the Grammys?
At a show for the Grammys. I didn't necessarily go to the Grammys.
Oh, that's all right. And your opinion about the Grammys this year? Did you You know, what's your opinion about the Grammys and all this kind of hype?
They should have. Okay. I love that you asked me that. They should have represented the impactful individuals that were in hip hop. And my father and NWA were very impactful individuals in hip hop, as well as Public Enemy, and Wu-Tang, and everybody else that you said highlighted. But that was very impactful, especially since you're having the Grammys on the West Coast. That's a West Coast impactful group that changed the game.
Do you feel like maybe the Grammys or these kind of award shows don't actually give the recognition to people who have, well, they say who are in the bad public eye, but really are not? They're legendary. Your father was a legend. Dr. Dre, legend. You know, it doesn't matter who gets along with anyone. Everyone's got their own opinion. But do you feel like the Grammys is very overhyped and compared to what it should be?
Very much, very much. It's not what it's supposed to give off. You know what I mean? To the you know and just you speak outside of my father. You got a lot of just West Coast individuals. Snoop Dogg, they were saying, quoting that he has nominated 20 times and not won once. You know
Yes,
what I
I
mean?
saw that. I saw that on Instagram. I did see that. I did see that. Yeah, that was a bit yeah.
Yeah.
And also
So
my other question to you, what's the next, what are you doing? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? You know, now you're on television, I've seen all your videos. I've seen there are amazing music videos. Maybe getting into maybe as a clothing designer or maybe into fashion. I mean, what's the next step for you to take? Also, maybe to continue your father's legacy as well.
in the big film, to more TV and film, merchandise has been something that is either going to continue, and we're actually going to press more now. My daughter actually wants to start a sweater line, so I'm gonna help her with that behind the scenes and let her just kind of blossom and do her teenage thing. And it's actually called Pray for the Lame. So what I mean, people look out for that soon. And really TV and film, what I mean. I want to get into directing, executive producing, a lot of depictions and stories that should need to be told, what I mean. And quiet is kept, what I mean. Suge Knight's story need to be told. You feel what I'm saying? What I mean, quiet.
100%.
I mean, despite if it's a bad movie, a movie you hate, cry, laugh, or whatever with it needs to be told. You know what I mean? And I'm about giving people the realness and that kind of.
I heard that you met him in prison. I heard a
Yeah.
story. You said that you speaking to Vlad TV, and you said, when you saw each other, you had all these flashbacks in your mind of your dad and how he behaved. Did you? And you said you sat down. Is that right? You sat down and you had a conversation, or?
Power. So it's protective custody, and I'm general population. So yeah, there was no conversating, couldn't do anything, and then I had them emotions. You feel what I mean? But it's the wrong place and choice to do it
That
because
must have
he's.
been difficult for you because if that was me, I would have lost my mind. I would have lost my mind.
You're on the same thought process as me.
Yes, I would have lost my mind. I also want to ask, so we've spoken about your dad, we've spoken about your future and stuff. I also want to know your upbringing when you were younger, when your father wasn't around. What was it like when you processed that and you realized your father wasn't going to be there for a period of time after when you started to get older and realize and mature as an adult? What was that like for you being with your family but not having a father figure in the house for you?
Well, the father figure was my father's father, my grandfather. So they did a great job of deflecting and holding a lot of that pain. But when I got away from home, that's where the street gang banging came from. Because I didn't necessarily have to do it. You had a lot of people like, hey, it's respect for my father. Like, why? I got people that I don't want to fight and get into it with, and their father doesn't respect my dad. Like, why? So it was just that young individual kind of lost doing some things that I shouldn't been doing that kind of teach to the young gangbangers now. It's like, hey, a lot of us were just led on a bad road in a bad time. And I thank my grandparents for balancing that time for me. You know what I'm saying? Of knowing that I didn't have one come home. And then as you get older, you got Father's Day, you got Father's Daddy Day at school. You feel what I'm saying? And career day, just different things like that.
Do you
Or
feel like maybe children have opened up your eyes more, made you much more flourish as a person?
yeah, very much. Very much, you know what I mean? But it was tough. Again, it was very, very tough. I don't wish that on nobody because only God and God helped my grandparents get me through, I mean, growing up in that time. And like I said, it was a lot of rough, around the edges. And then again, there's stories that again that'll be out and depicted on a lot of bio documentaries that I do of myself. But yeah, between jail, being shot at multiple times, and living the gang life, I mean, the anger really came because of the fact of I didn't
But
have
do you
one,
think
and I
that's
know
made you stronger as a person, though?
very much, very much, very much, and that turned me into the humble man that you know now. So you ask myself, like, yeah, it's like, hey, if I was able to get through a storm of the person that meant the most to me in my life, you know what I mean, then what I mean, like I feel like I get through anything, you know what I mean. And then when I have my own children, you just want to give them everything that what I mean, that you wanted, you know what I'm saying? I don't want them to sit here and ever depict that pain that you had. So make sure that I come home every day, you know what I'm saying?
I can feel the pain when I talk to you. I don't know if I feel, I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but I feel the pain in your voice, and I feel like you're a very smart individual, and you know that life is never, it's been tough for you. Am I allowed to say that? Is that
Yeah, very much. Very, very much. Yeah, very much. Yeah, it
my
has
last
been.
my last couple of questions for you, then I'm going to let you continue. Um, right now you're at the studio. Tell me who's at the studio. Are they there? What are you releasing? What are you producing? What are you doing at the moment in the studio today?
Oh man, we're in the studio now with Daz Dillinger. We're doing the Legacy album. Matter of fact, let me say hi to you guys. We're gonna get off the rig and kind of let you guys just see a little bit. So that's Beefy and Richard from Dark Power in here. And here you go, right here. So March 22nd, we're gonna have our Legacy album. You feel what I'm saying?
Naz, how you doing?
This, I mean, I'm doing an interview with them, you know what I mean? His cousin Eric, who's a big help to this project. One of the main factors to this project and helping us create it as well, man. But that's the man behind it. March 22nd, Legacy album. So that's what I've been doing, man. That's what we're doing now. You know what I mean? Finishing that up. And man, just gonna keep mashing. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Last two questions for you, and then I'm going to what do you do in your spare time, E? When you're not hustling in the music industry, when you're not making your life, what do you like to do when you're not working?
Oh, I like to play poker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Father, everybody father. But I joke around with that because it's something on TV that they're exposing. But of course, I'm being a father. My daughters, my kids are in sports. So I love being a coach. But outside of that, if we're strictly saying, hey, outside of the world, what is the thing? I play poker. I
Lovely.
play poker. Yeah.
Also, I'm going to ask you one more thing. What was your opinion about the George Floyd situation?
Man, very sad. You know what I mean? It was a changer. Felt like he was a lightweight. All due respect, a sacrifice for the world to see on TV. Understand what we have to do as a people. You feel what I mean? For police corruption. And then the biggest part about me is being an individual who I am. You get asked the questions like, "Hey, your dad told us about this years ago, and it's still going on." So I like, yeah,
Do you think
it
it's
is very
worse now? Do you think it's worse now or worse before?
worse before because you have Instagram and cameras now, so you get
100%.
to.
Yeah, they can't behave. But people also say that also there is still white police officers are still very presidential or very, very, very intrusive when they see a black person or an Asian person or a Muslim, etc.
Yeah, and and which is true because we had a wave in our country
Hmm.
that kind of sparked up racism again. You feel what I'm saying? You got to think with a lot of leaders you have, kind of give everybody the courage to feel like, hey, this is what we're on again. I
Hmm.
mean, really never just let them come out from out the woods, the creeks, and say, hey, start fucking this shit over. You know what I'm saying? So the to say if it's worse or not, I don't know, to our eyes and things, and we think that it is now because again we get to see it visually. But think about back then in my father's era, they used to put stuff on you. You feel what I'm saying? Or pull you over in a dark alley. You feel what I'm saying? And hey, you're missing. Ain't no solving no crime around here. So you think in the nature that's just a lot more worse. You feel what I'm saying? Body cams now, that's helpful to a lot of cops. You can't do a lot of shit that you used to do back then. You feel what I'm saying? Or you gonna get exposed. You feel what I'm saying? So
But I don't think
like I said,
I don't think for what I've seen on national television, press releases, press reports. I got friends who are American journalists who work for the New York Times, and they say to me, Kieran, it's a load of shit. It still happens every single day. These police officers, when they with the George Floyd situation, they put a leg, they put a knee on the
on
floor.
top,
They're
yeah,
putting a hand on saying, "Rest in
yeah,
peace, George Floyd." But the next day, they're still doing the same bloody thing.
yeah, and like I said, it's a political thing of giving you the okay to sit here, feel like you can do that, and despite it, so you know what I mean. It's just more visual now. You feel what I'm saying? And other things are not as visual. I mean, as visual that we don't see that are still happening. But let's be real. If you ask me and you want to kick it, when we kick it real, I think the George Floyd thing was the sacrifice, like I said, to sit here and give the world and law enforcement to say it's okay. We'll have minor situations to do, but if we have to do this to get rid of one, let's do it. You know what I mean? And that's when I say as far as in a sacrifice is because it was done on national TV, and it was a depiction that ever since then it ain't like you said, it didn't stop, it didn't slow
Mhm.
down. You feel what I mean? It didn't. So it's like in a way you gave it as a sacrifice to us to sit here and say, hey, this is still going on, and then
Mhm.
to police force to sit here and say, hey, yeah, we still can do this. You feel what I mean?
I think hidden
You know,
racism, with all due respect to you though, I think hidden racism is still definitely there.
yeah, yeah, hidden, yes. I believe it's in more politics. That's where it's hidden at.